Bro, I'm so mad. I want to uninstall right now.
Damn it. Nice shot. Nice shot. I was about to goose him with a diversion. And
Oh, God. You just walked into that thermite. Hey, folks. Tony Mo here, and this week I've got a very exciting Titanfall discussion for you. This is something that I've been thinking about for a long time now. Probably since like Season 4 of Apex Legends, to give you a bit of a reference point. It's a video that I've wanted to do for a long time, and now that I'm back actively playing Titanfall 2, I felt like it was the perfect time to bring this discussion full circle. This is very much in the vein of the Titanfall 3, Imagining Titanfall 3 series I used to do here on the channel, where we would sort of, theory craft and talk about the potential future of the Titanfall franchise. We're very much going to be doing that today with this video, but obviously in the climate of Respawn now being the very successful developers of Apex Legends, a game which is not Titanfall 3, but still takes place in the Titanfall universe. It's an expansion, a wonderful, beautiful expansion of the Titanfall universe. And for the remainder of the video, we will probably refer to it as the Titanfall Apex universe, because they are essentially one and the same, even if they exist on very different timelines across the now 3 games in this more expansive universe. To get things rolling, though, I want to talk specifically about Respawn as a developer and what I think is one of their biggest strengths: character development. When you look at Titanfall 2, yes, the campaign itself is incredible. Like, everyone is going to talk about cause and effect forever, and that's amazing. But the relationship between BT and Jack Cooper is another really stellar point in the campaign's existence. It's something that so many people remember, and it'd be hard-pressed to talk about Titanfall 2 without seeing someone making some sort of a very positive and often emotional reference to BT and Jack Cooper, their relationship, right? Hell, if you look even deeper into the single-player campaign, you see the relationships not just between Jack Cooper and his Titan, BT, but between the other characters and their Titans. It's there. You might not get to see it firsthand because you're not playing as these characters, but it is there nonetheless. And then Respawn did us one better, and they sort of laid out the template for us to create our own relationships as pilots in the multiplayer with the Titan or the Titans of our choosing. They could have just had blank, empty, nameless loadouts, but they didn't do that. In the multiplayer, they gave us Scorch, Ion, Tone, Ronin, Legion, and North Star. Titans with all very different visual appearances, even if they're often based off of similar chassis, completely different kits, and essentially completely different playstyle offerings, as well as their own levels of customization and cosmetics. They allowed us to become our very own pilots and to forge our very own relationships with these Titans. And the community did just that. Community went fucking wild with that. People have pet names for their Titans. I'm sure many of you have heard Iniquity refer to as Ronin as Roninia, right? You've seen the Watchtone Die memes. You've seen the North Star community and the Scorched community. Like, that's such a cool thing. It really genuinely is. And again, Respawn just sort of laid out that template, and they did it seemingly so effortlessly and so well. And now when we move forward and we look at the work they've done with Apex Legends, I think there's been a clear expansion of their abilities as a studio, especially as they've taken on new folks, new developers to the team when it comes to building out characters. Apex Legends is, without a doubt, one of the best character stories in video games, in my opinion. In the same way that you watch a film like Star Wars or a show like Star Trek, because they're good character stories and they offer up a slew of characters for you to build relationships with, to relate to, Apex Legends is just loaded with these legends. They're all their own characters. They all have their own extremely detailed personalities. And each and every one of them is a chance for you to find that sort of relationship you can build. In the same way that we watched BT and Jack Cooper's relationship be forged, in the same way we forged our own relationships between the Titans in Titanfall 2's multiplayer, we have a chance to form this relationship as we play as these legends and watch them exist and interact with the other legends around them. Respawn is just absolutely incredible at this. And Even if you don't play Apex Legends, you really should be watching the shorts and the cinematics they make, both for the release of new seasons and for the stories that they use to deliver new legends out into the games. They're all just so good. They're so well done, and they really do a lot to expand that Titanfall Apex universe in ways that Titanfall really never had the chance to. It's all of this that's been done by Respawn with Apex Legends that gets me extremely excited for the potential future of another Titanfall game. And so here's how I kind of see it. A long time ago when we talked about Titanfall 3, our main focus was on the idea that Titanfall 3 would just be a straightforward sequel to Titanfall 2. No thought in our minds that Apex Legend and all of its lore and character development would ever happen. So we just focused on gameplay, like, yeah, here's the decision we'd like to see them make. They should do this with Titans, and they should do this with movement, and blah, 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 blah. But why don't we actually think about the future of Titanfall alongside, or maybe even within, in a truly symbiotic relationship to Apex Legends? It makes so much sense for me for the next Titanfall game to, at the very least, share the same aesthetic and art direction as Apex Legends. Apex, at the end of the day, feels like an expansion of the art direction that we got with Titanfall 2, that vibrant, rich, and just really stellar color palette. I think it's appealing to just about anyone under the sun. Obviously, some people prefer the more gritty, classic take of Titanfall, but I just think it's allowed them to make some of the most impressive environments we've ever seen. I will never get bored of booting up Apex Legends and just staring at Kings Canyon, just staring at the environments they've done, and I cannot wait to drop in to the new map because it just looks unbelievably beautiful. Now, that doesn't mean they'd have to abandon the gameplay that we come to love and know from a Titanfall multiplayer experience. I'm still very much thinking of a Titanfall game with double jumping and wall running, but I also like the idea of a Titanfall game that doesn't just decide to pick up where the story left off with BT and Jack Cooper. I know so many of us would love to see that continued, but think about all of the work that's been done with Apex Legends, all of the characters. There's a huge opportunity here for the next Titanfall game to exist alongside of Apex Legends in the same timeline of the Titanfall Apex universe, and to introduce even more characters, to give us new relationships to watch unfold, and to potentially have these new characters, these new relationships, tie into what's there in Apex Legends. First and foremost, that's a huge opportunity to bring people from Apex into the Titanfall experience, to give them a single-player offering that allows them to potentially see some of their favorite Apex Legends characters helping out the new characters, the Titans and the pilots, or whoever they might be, that exist in this new Titanfall game, and a chance to hook them on the even more movement-focused experience that would be another Titanfall multiplayer experience. I mean, we can't deny that the existence of Apex Legends has done a lot for Titanfall 2. I really do believe that had Titanfall 3 not happened, and had Apex Legends also not happened, we wouldn't see the player base we see for Titanfall 2 right now. Yeah, there's a diehard community who just wants to keep playing Titanfall 2, but I think Apex has done a lot to just help remind people that Titanfall 2 exists. If you started playing Apex Legends and learned about Titanfall 2 because of it, there's a chance that you're going to think about Titanfall every time you play Apex Legends. You're going to think about that other game that has actual Titans in it. Like, I do think there's a lot of crossover now between these communities, not just because some of these people played Titanfall 2 before they played Apex, but because so many of these people played Apex and then learned about Titanfall 2 and went and played the game single player. We don't even have to dive into the multiplayer side of it. They got to experience BT and Jack Cooper's story. And there's no doubt that they're going to be thinking about that story whenever a new character or a new bit of plot gets introduced into the Apex Legends narrative. So to see these things come together to push Titanfall forward and to build off of the success of Apex Legends, well, that just sounds fucking magical to me. And if it's done right, it has the opportunity to always give people choice. I would probably play a lot more Apex Legends if I could take a break from the long time to kill BR offering and go play some Titanfall 3, Titanfall 2 sequel multiplayer, where I get to jump into my Titans and feel empowered and have the movement that I've come to love and know in the previous two entries of the Titanfall franchise. it's honestly one of my favorite things about Warzone. I love playing Warzone. I think it's a really good BR experience. It allows me to have just tons and tons of ridiculous firefights with my friends. And when I want, I can just go hop into the game's normal multiplayer, which is paced so much more differently than the BR, and have an entirely different experience. I'd love to see that happen with Apex and with Titanfall going forward. That's my vision anyway. That's me like looking at where things are now and saying, from a business perspective and from a creative perspective, what kind of makes sense? You know, what could I envision them doing as a company? And that's what I see. I think really Respawn has grown so much as a studio, not just the people who are new, but the people who are there, who have obviously had a chance to really flex their skills, their creative muscles in a way that they didn't have to before with Titanfall 2. And I just see a really bright future, not just for Apex, but for anything that might happen with Titanfall. I don't know if it will. There's no guarantee. But I'd like to think that a group of people, plenty of people at Respawn, still want to make a Titanfall game. And I just think there's a better opportunity now than ever for that to happen, and for it to fuse into the Apex Legends Titanfall universe. That would all be really cool. I'd be really stoked on that. Love to hear your thoughts. Feel free to leave them down in the comment section below. Huge shout out to everyone on Patreon who continues to support the work I do here on the channel. Again, if you'd like to become a Patreon yourself, the link is down in the description below. It's going to get you access to exclusive videos early. So you get to see the videos before they go live here on the channel early, as well as ad-free. You won't have to watch an ad. You support me. Starting at just $1, you'll get access to our private Discord server, as well as some other daily, weekly updates from me, sort of behind-the-scenes goodies. Now, if you're here because of Titanfall and Apex, awesome. Why don't you hang out, check out some of the other videos on my channel. There's other Titanfall content. There's old stuff that's still really good in my opinion, a whole loadout series. I've also got videos in other games like Ghost of Tsushima Legends. I just recently covered a game called RoboQuest, which is a pretty badass movement-focused FPS game. If you like movement-focused shooters, maybe consider checking that video out. The links for all that stuff down in the description, as well as the pinned comment below. Please take care of yourselves, be awesome to one another, and I'll see you folks in the next one.